Hey everyone, it's Fitz with the Daily Delivery. Hope you're doing well. I am good, still a little bit under the weather, but I'm going to fight through because Brett Yormark deserves that from all of us. And that's the topic of today's video, is that Brett Yormark just signed a new 3-year deal with the Big 12, taking him through the 2029/30 season, 1 year before the TV contract is up, which is interesting. I'm going to get into the 3 things that I think Brett Yormark needs to do over these next few years to really cement this conference as the third power conference. But first, I got to remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the thumbs up, and leave those comments. The algorithm is hungry, and you're not feeding it enough comments. So please do. Brett Yormark has been a savior for the Big 12. Literally, the conference probably wouldn't be here if he hadn't jumped on that media rights deal that the Pac-12 turned down. Could he probably gotten more money? Possibly, but he knew that surviving was the goal at that moment. Now that you've survived, you have to move in and become competitive. It gets a lot more challenging now because the revenue sharing model that is being put in place by this House versus NCAA case will put a severe financial stress on a lot of these schools, including Kansas State. Coming up with more than $20 million a year out of thin air to start paying student athletes revenue sharing is a challenge. That money just wasn't sitting around not doing anything. Nobody was lining their personal pockets with profit. These are nonprofit organizations and they don't turn a profit. And that's a big reason why I don't like private equity, because that changes that arrangement. They're going to want a profit. But the Big 12 needs some guidance here. A lot of schools here are going to struggle with that $20 million, and Brett Yormark knows his way around. We'll see if there's any kind of nifty financial solutions he can come up with, but if there's one man that can, it's Brett Yormark, and that takes us to number 2. Continue the free thinking. Don't be restricted by negative people out there. I saw someone ridicule him for he got this contract despite the Big 12 Mexico fiasco. That wasn't a fiasco. That was just a great idea that wasn't properly executed and thought through all the way. And that's kind of where, a lot of free thinkers get into trouble. We come up with great ideas, but the actual execution of them doesn't work out quite as the way you planned. But am I in favor of Big 12 Mexico? Let's be honest. Mexico's got to clean up some of their issues if we want to send all of our fans down there in an organized fashion. You don't want the Big 12 in a legal dispute with a family who suffered, something horrible in Mexico. Most of Mexico is safe. Enough of it isn't to make this a concern. But how about this? You're going to go back, I believe, at some point to 18 conference basketball games for the men. And it's needed. The coaches hated playing 20 games. But what if you played non-conference games? You do it in football already. Why not do it in basketball? Tip-off weekend in which over 4 different sites, you're going to play 2 games each, 8 games, 16 schools, all non-conference. And yeah, you better believe you're going to match up Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, the teams that are doing really well. You're going to match them up in those games. So you have marquee games right out of the gate. Grab the attention. And of course, number 3 is obvious what he needs to do. He needs to get a new deal for this conference, a new media rights deal that pays this conference what it deserves and what it needs. And I think he's the perfect person to do that. He's a great negotiator. He just got the Big 12 to give him a new contract for 3 years. That wasn't the negotiation. That contract comes up 1 year before the media rights deal goes into place. He's going to make sure the Big 12 wants him back for another term because they don't want to give up the negotiation in middle stream. I think Brett Yormark needs to take his creativity to the next media rights deal. This one was about surviving. The next one's about thriving. What can you do? Can you get Turner, TBS, and all them to come along and be a substantial partner? CW? Anyone else out there that's willing to step up? Maybe you're going to see Amazon Prime. Now that the Nielsen group, the organizers of the TV ratings, they do all the measurements, have said we're going to bring in streaming, it changes everything. Now streaming partners are going to be showing up as TV ratings, and that's a very good thing for the Big 12. You can't be in an all-streaming environment. Too much of the country still demands that over-the-air or cable delivery of big games. Find that partner and then be willing to get creative with everything else. Because if the Big 12 wants to survive, it's not going to do it with a head-on assault against the Big 10 and SEC. It's going to dig in, it's going to be creative, and it's going to do what the Big 12 always does, with or without Brett Yormark. It survives, and it will, with him at the helm, and hopefully thrive with Brett Yormark in charge.